Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Burke County Board of Commissioners regular meeting for Monday, December the 15th, 2025 at 6 p.m. Thank you for being here. Let me remind you, as I do myself, please handle your phones and be sure they're set to vibrate. Madam Clerk, all commissioners are present, along with our manager and finance officer. Remind all speakers as you come tonight, as you come to the podium, please be sure the red light is on. Push the button to the right if it's not, so that we can hear you and get a good recording tonight. Pleased to have Pastor David Bridges with us tonight from First Apostolic Church of Morganton to lead us in our invocation. And then our esteemed attorney, Mr. Hall, will be leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. So we thank you all again for being here. And let's stand together. And Pastor, if you'll come and lead us.
Let us pray. Lord, we thank you and praise you for this beautiful day that you've blessed us with. Not only for this day, but God, this time of year where we get to celebrate the greatest gift that mankind has ever been given. It's your presence wrapped in flesh, God. We thank you and praise you for all of your blessings, for this year that you've blessed our county with. We thank you, Lord, and we give you praise and honor for that. We pray, Lord, as we head into a new year, that your grace and your mercy would go before us. Lord, that you would bless this council. Lord, that you would bless and move on each one of their lives, their families. Lord, I pray that you would bless them greatly. Touch this meeting tonight, God. I pray that you would guard our minds and our hearts and our mouths for what we speak. Lord, above all, we've come tonight to give you praise and honor for all that you do, but most of all for who you are. We love you. We praise you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, gentlemen, this brings us to item number 4 of our agenda tonight, organization of the board. First item of business there is to elect a chairman for 2026. And at this time, I'll open the floor for nominations for chair.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to motion to elect Jeff Britton as the chairman of the Burke County Board of Commissioners for 2026.
Thank you, Mr. Stroud. Are there other nominations?
Mr. Chairman, I move to close the floor for nominations.
All right, thank you, Mr. Burns. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. All right, gentlemen, you've heard the motion. Those in favor of selecting me for the chair, please signify by the uplifted hand. Thank you very much. I appreciate the vote of confidence. I will do my best to keep us on track and in order. This brings us to item number 2, Board of Commissioners election of vice chair. Chairman, I'll open the floor for nominations for vice chair.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make another motion to elect Phil Smith as the vice chairman of the Burke County Board of Commissioners 2025.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Stroud. That'll be 2026. Thank you. Any other nominations?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to close the floor for nominations.
Those in favor of closing, please signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0. Gentlemen, you've heard the nomination for Mr. Phil Smith for vice chair. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. That's 5-0. Thank you very much. Any comments, Mr. Vice Chair?
I'd just like to thank you and the board, and especially the citizens of Burke County that allow me to serve on this board. It's an honor and something that I'll treasure for the rest of my life.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. All right, gentlemen, that brings us to item 5 of the agenda, approval of the agenda. Gentlemen, you will notice that we did make an addition to the agenda. I think you've all aware of that. To add the addition of appointments to the Dangerous Dog Appeal Board as an item for decision, item number 8. So, gentlemen, with that change, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the agenda as amended with the addition of appointments to the Dangerous Dog Appeal Board as items of decision number 8.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. All those in favor signify by lifting the hand. 5-0. All right, gentlemen, item number 6, approval of meeting minutes. We have tonight meeting minutes from September the 2nd, 2025, pre-agenda meeting. Gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the minutes of the September 2nd, 2025 pre-agenda meeting as written.
Thank you, Mr. Barry. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. It's 5-0. All right, we have 2 presentations tonight. Item number 7, first one coming from our Registered Deeds Department, departmental update. This will be presented tonight by Stephanie Norman, our Registered Deeds. Evening, Stephanie.
I gotta remember to turn the button on. Didn't have to do that, Gary. I will try to make my presentation short and sweet, but it's not often that I get to talk about my office and brag on my ladies, which they are all here, and if they would stand up, I'd really appreciate it because they work hard for this county every single day. And my office certainly cannot run the way that it runs without them, and they are greatly appreciated. So I'm not sure what some of the other departments have brought for their presentations, but one of the things that I wanted to point out was just things that, not necessarily statistics, but things that the Registered Deeds Office does that most people don't know about, and it's evident because they constantly confuse us in the Clerk of Superior Court, which is a state ran office in Ware County, and we get to do all the fun things, and unfortunately they get to do a lot of negative things, and I hate that for them, but it's good for us that we get to do good things. So if you were born after 1971, we can get a birth certificate for you if anywhere in the state. It has to be in the state, but you don't have to be born in Burke County. We can get those for you. It is a higher charge because we have to go through the database with the North Carolina Office of Vital Records, but it's a whole lot more convenient than having to drive to a county down east or something like that if you were born after 71. And yay, as of January 1st of 2026, we will be able to issue birth certificates for individuals that have been adopted. Historically, we've not been able to do that. That was Senate Bill 248 with a lot of work from our association, a lot of work from the House of Representatives and the Senate to get that passed so that we can issue birth certificates for individuals that were adopted. So that again starts January 1st. It will be just in county. You have to be originally born in Burke County, but they will transition to out of county in the future after we initially implement this. We are a burn county. A lot of people don't realize that a lot of our records were burned during the Civil War when the courthouse was burned. Well, the courthouse itself, but all the records in the courthouse were burned. Very few records survived. Those records are down in North Carolina archives, which they say they have some deeds, things like that, but that's not accurate. There's just very few records that were salvaged or survived from that burn in April of 1865. So that makes sometimes doing genealogy and other things difficult because the records are not there. We are a passport acceptance facility. We started that 3 years ago, and I'll talk more about that, but that has been wonderful for our office and for the county. We do notarize documents for $10 a signature. Sorry, we don't do any car titles because they get a little complex, but if you need other things documented or notarized, we will be happy to notarize them for you. Community engagements is very important to me and to our office. One, like I mentioned before, for educational purposes because people don't know what our office does, and also for accountability. I mean, I am an elected official, and I think it's important for people to know who you are and to be involved in your community for accountability. So what kind of community engagement things do? We have an annual customer appreciation event, which is a shredded event. We typically do that in September of each year. It's a great way to protect yourself from identity theft and document fraud. And we typically do it the first 2 weeks of September, so we do that annually. We did do an annual Veterans Appreciation event because we do record the DD-214s or discharge papers in our office. But some of our veterans population were aging out and getting older and unfortunately passing on. So we decided that instead of recognizing them once a year, we recognize them every day when they come into our office. So we have just usually a small gift that we give to them to thank them for their service because it is an important thing. We have special wedding events, and if you missed this last one, we did a Halloween bash. It was supposed to be 2 days, but because of the weather, we had to condense it down to 1. So we did have a little bit smaller numbers this year. We performed 9 ceremonies. We typically run 12 to 14, and we usually fill up our slots every year. People look forward to that. We alternate seasons for that, so our next one will be in April of 2026, since we did this one in the fall of this year. And then we have the passport fairs. Last year we did 2. We did a total of 69 applications during that passport fair from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. If you think about that, that's 5 an hour, and we only have 2 people that can process the applications. We were hopping. The next fair, we're going to try something a little bit different instead of doing on Saturday, which we typically do on a Saturday to allow parents to come in and get children's passports, because both parents have to be there unless there's a court order or a custody agreement in place. But trying to get both parents off of work and out of school and kids out of school for a passport is challenging, so we usually run those on Saturday. But this year we're going to try and run it for 3 days and do it from 5 to 7:30 p.m. On March 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So same premise, that hopefully both parents will be off work, the children will be out of school, or if you have work and can't come in during different hours, that gives some extra hours that you can come in and get a passport application processed. So what else do we do? Land records. On average, we're recording roughly 12,000 documents a year just for land records. We're pretty consistent with that number over the last few years. Even with the housing market stabilizing, some people have seen decreases. We are not. We're maintaining. We actually had a 0.17% increase over the previous fiscal year. But the documents that we're recording are changing. So we're seeing a decrease in the total number of conveyances. We're seeing an increase in borrowing of money and as deeds of trust, agreements, contracts, things like that. But we're also seeing an increase in modification of existing loans. So because of the high interest rate, people are modifying their loans, not necessarily refinancing, but trying to modify their loan terms. And we are starting to see foreclosures, which is unfortunate, but the housing market is kind of driving that as well. If you think about that, that's on average of about 47 documents per day under land records. That doesn't seem like a whole lot, but as I continue to tell you what our numbers are, I think you'll find out how busy we are in this little office of ours. Vital records, we are processing over 16,000 vital records requests annually. I'm not talking about new births, new deaths, marriage license. These are just requests that come in for a certified copy of a birth, death, or marriage license. That is 62 requests per day on average. That's a lot. Look about your land records and on top of that. And so each of these keep adding up. And so if you can keep up with the math in your head, I would appreciate it. And again, that doesn't include processing marriage licenses, new births, new deaths coming in, notary oaths. We also do those. It doesn't factor in the passports, on and on and on as to what we do. Vital records amendments. We saw a 53% increase in amendments over last year. Variable things, the NC Real ID went into effect, which requires those requests to come in, and your birth certificates have to be accurate for you to get a Real ID, just like they have to be accurate for passports, insurance, other things that you need a vital record for. Anti-identity theft security measures have forced people to correct their birth certificates. Increases in birth rates affect that, especially our immigration population, and their birth rates affect the volume of amendments. The complexity of the amendment dictates the amount of time it takes to process it. So it can take on average for an hour to complete the paperwork, up to 8 to 12 months of monitoring the progress of the status before being able to completely complete the amendment at the local level and close it out. Are you still adding all this up as we go? Okay. So new vital records, we're processing a combined total of 2,200 to 2,300 new births and deaths annually. New births have increased 8.7% in our county. Deaths have remained stable over the last 5 years, but over this last fiscal year, we actually showed an increase of almost 11%. Birth and death records take about 10 to 15 minutes on average per record from start to finish to file and issue. New marriage licenses have increased almost 26% over last year. Marriage licenses take 30 to 45 minutes on average per license from start to finish to file and issue. And that's if there's no issue. If you've got all your documentations, you don't need an interpreter. There's no questions about under your documents and stuff that you presented, that there's no question about them. So what are some things that we have done in the office to help with this volume of work? We've implemented artificial intelligence, and her name is Courtney. We launched her on March 31st of 2025. Contrary to popular belief, she's not going to eliminate any of my staff's positions or any of the workload, but it does help us get through the quality assurance process. When a document, particularly land records, is recorded, it goes through a 5-step quality assurance process. So on average, 3 people are going to touch that document. It can be 5 people touching that document. I can't even talk. But on average, it's 3. And that's to make sure that our indexing, our data entry is accurate. Your mind does funny things, so we have to key it as we see it. So Brian may be spelled B-R-A-I-N because it's a typo, and your brain will know that it's supposed to be B-R-I-A-N, and if you're not careful, you will type it in as B-R-I-A-N, but guess what? We have to type it in as B-R-A-I-N to make sure that we are keying it as we see it. And if you've recorded that document, you are probably not going to come behind it and index it and add in some other data entry text, if you will, because you will remember your brain will remember what you put in when you recorded it. So you need a break in between that to make sure that we're not making the same mistake all the way through it. Because there's legal ramifications or consequences if we have not indexed that document properly. And she's learning. If you know anything about artificial intelligence, they learn as they go, right? And so she's learning our demographics here and how we rekey things and index things and what our data entry parameters look like, if you will. And she's doing better, but she's really good at vital records. She's not as good at land records as we would like, but we have hopes that that she will help us be more accurate in our quality assurance process. We've also implemented phone networking reporting. Up until February of 2025, we had no way to track our phone calls, so how many phone calls we were getting, how long we were spending on those phone calls, and here's some more data for you to keep in your little heads. We average 11 calls per day, okay? That doesn't sound like a lot, but on average, a deputy spends 3.5 hours per day on the phone. An assistant, on average, spends 14.5 hours per day on the phone. So what does that mean? Our assistants aren't able to get their phone calls done all in the same day. It's carrying over into a second day. This phone network reporting helps us look at those trends and us to be able to shift our staff where they need to be as far as work hours and our lunches and things like that, because we're an open office. We don't close for lunch. So we have to stagger, because when does everybody come in? During their lunch hour, right? So this phone network reporting has really helped us look at our volume of work, because trying to capture the technical assistance and things that can't be run in a report is really important for our office. Our staff spends time up at the counter just speaking to people because they have questions. How do you measure that as far as your work volume? So again, we're pretty busy between phone calls, recording, answering questions, making sure that we're at the counter. We have e-recording, and we're a passport acceptance facility. So currently, just some statistics on that. We had a 60.32% increase in applications over 23-24 into 24-25. The same is true for passport photos. It was a 60.22% increase. That's phenomenal. Those are phenomenal numbers. So one may say, well, you know, can you maintain that? Well, let me tell you, from July 1st of 2025 to Friday, we had a 40.2% increase in photos and a 46.3% increase of passport applications over the same time last year. So we're on target to even exceed that 60% this year. That's a lot. If you look at our numbers, how we processed, or what we're processing, we did 781 during that time period last year, 1,095 in photos this year, 842 applications last year, and 1,232 applications already this year. And again, we have a full-time person and a part-time person designated only to passports. That's a lot for them to do. But why is that so important? Why are passports so important to our office? We keep all the revenue. The county gets to keep all the revenue for the passport application fees and the photos. Everything else that we charge in our office, with the exception of the notary, is split with the state. This is free and clear revenue for the county. So that's wonderful for us as a county. And our office, fortunately, is a revenue generating office, and our revenues exceed our expenses by half. So it is important for other departments within the county for us to receive that revenue because we help the other departments that are not revenue generating to continue to function with staff and other needs. I mentioned that our passport agents is a part-time and a full-time person. We have to be inspected every year. It's a surprise, it's scheduled, but it's a surprise inspection. We had a 1.1% in real life errors last year on our inspection. Actually, it's this year, but last fiscal year, it was in May of this year. And what does that mean? That means we processed 877 applications as to what they looked at during their inspection. And that means only 10 of those applications had errors. That's phenomenal. That is phenomenal. Because has anybody applied for a passport? It's a lot of paperwork. And they only had 10 applications with errors. And I should point out as well that that's not necessarily an error on our part. That could be something that they needed to provide to the U.S. Department of State and insisted that we send it in. And if they insist that we send it in, we send it in. So it could be an error on their part. So, and I'm gonna bet that it was, that at least half of those were on somebody else other than, our passport agents. They do a phenomenal job. What kind of things are we looking at right now is document fraud, which is the deliberate act of falsifying information on transactions such as deeds of trust, or appraisals for personal gain, or to damage another individual. So our question is would you know it if you saw it? And most people don't, and that's why they end up having document fraud. Luckily, we have a small percentage of actual document fraud in the county where someone actually is forging someone's signature or name, or doesn't convey property with all the required signatures, or don't have authority to convey the property. But what we are seeing a large number of is foreclosure rescue scams. And we are trying to work with our local law enforcement and the DA's office to find out what can be charged for these type of scams. They typically involve power of attorneys, and if anybody is listening outside of here, please, please, please be cautious who you sign over your authority on a power of attorney to, because once you sign that authority over, if they want to sign your property over, they can, and your property's gone. So make sure that you trust the individuals that you are giving authority to act on your behalf through a power of attorney. But certainly we feel like this is obtaining property by false pretenses. And I listed a couple types of fraud here for the sake of time. I just wanted you to be aware of it, but for the sake of time, I won't go into it. But it is alive and well in Burke County, unfortunately. We see it almost every day, where it may not be that we have firsthand knowledge of it, but somebody comes into our office because they feel like they have been taken advantage of, and most of the time they have been. So there is Senate Bill 423, which is titled Fraud Prevention, that has been introduced in the House and the Senate this session to increase penalties for recording fraudulent documents, to make it easier to navigate the court system if a fraudulent document has been recorded, and to make it faster to remove a fraudulent document from our permanent records should one be identified. Because right now we have to have a court order to remove any record from our database or our records because they're permanent records. It's still in, I don't want to say it's infancy, because I think there's been several revisions, but some of the things that they're trying to tease out is our role in the process, okay? So this teases out increasing fines, the court system, which is Clerk of Superior Court, how to remove the document, but right now, under the general statutes, and what people don't understand is they were like, why did you record that? We don't have a choice. We have to record it if it meets recording standards. Our role from the Register of Deeds office is not to verify the validity, authenticity, or legitimacy of the document that is recorded. Our responsibility is making sure that it meets the recording requirements set by legislation. And so sometimes fraudulent documents or things that we suspect may be fraudulent documents meet recording standards, and we have to record them. Now, will we report it? Yes. Will we express the concern? Yes. But as far as being able to say, no, we won't record that, we can't do it as the way legislation is right now. Some of the things in that Senate bill that are trying to address that is that if it's a non-trusted submitter, in other words, if it's not an attorney, it's not a financial institution, it's not a title insurance company, that they have to provide ID for us to record the document. And then if it's not the owner on record, we would have to send a written notice to the owner on record that a document was recorded conveying the property. That poses issues for us. We don't know who owner of record is sometimes. That's the tax office a lot of times, because sometimes things get recorded in our office, and because the description is wrong or something, it doesn't carry over in the tax office, and so it can't be validated, if that makes sense. Also, some of these foreclosure rescue scams that I mentioned, attorneys are involved. Unfortunately, notaries are involved. And even with the bar and being censored with the bar, they're still practicing law, helping with these scams, which is concern. So not to say that this Senate bill is not good, because it is, and it is a step in the right direction. But I don't know if there's any foolproof way to prevent fraud, with the exception of you staying educated and knowing what's going on with your property and what kind of documents you are signing and what kind of authority you're given to individuals. We do have a fraud notification alert system in place to help with that. It's simple, it's free. You sign up for the email, and anytime a document is recorded in our office with your name or the names that you put the parameters in for, it will send you an email saying this document was recorded. Does that mean it was fraud? No, it does not, but it helps you stay on top of what's being recorded in your name or with your name on it. And so if it happens to be fraud or something that shouldn't have occurred, you can respond to it quicker than if you didn't have a fraud notification alert system. So other things that we do, you know, a lot of people realize that departments depend on each other, but you might not realize how many departments depend on us. And so a couple things. So we partner with and assist numerous offices. The tax office requires the tax certification before any document gets recorded or any conveyance gets recorded, which is a deed. But we provide a attorney statement report to the tax office to help them collect delinquent taxes. We work with community development. We record plats. They have to do a plat review to sign off on that. Social services request vital records from us all the time for foster care. They also get a child death report from us. The Board of Election, we send over death certificates every month so that they can update their voter registration roll. Our mapping department gets our conveyance documents nightly or as we verify so that they can update WebGIS, and WebGIS is not the Register of Deeds office. Let me put that out there real quick. The Sheriff's Department gets death certificates for their civil department to update their warrant list. The county's veterans offices gets military discharges from us. Financial institutions, we actually do safe deposit box inventories for them. On the state level, I mentioned the clerk of court, our civil division and us, we go back and forth between the affidavits of parentage, legal name changes, which are all involved amendments, wills and estates. They need letters of testamentary and wills and probate, so they have to have what from us? Death certificates for the estates. The criminal division, they get death records for their court dockets. Probation gets death certificates for parolees so they can remove them off of their rolls. We work with the North Carolina Secretary of State for notary commissions and recording standards. We work with the North Carolina Office of Vital Records for birth and death amendments, the electronic death and birth portal and verifications, and then the North Carolina Veterans Affairs for military discharges. So again, I hope you were keeping up with all these little things that we do. We do a lot. Considering how much our fees are, it's a lot. I don't know how else to explain that. But what are our challenges? Our space. We need office space. We've got 8 little people scrunched into our little office right there, and all the equipment that we have to have for the technology to make sure that we're staying up to date to record everything. Space is a huge challenge for us. And obviously our work volume. I just got done speaking about how much work volume percentages that we're increasing year after year. I don't know that we can squeeze any more staff in here, so that goes back to the space as well. Two other challenges that I will mention: we continue to have issues with obtaining new death certificates in the prescribed time frame. The prescribed time frame is by legislation, and our medical examiners and medical providers are struggling in that area. It slows our ability to issue death certificates to the public because they come to us to get the death certificates. And then communication with North Carolina Vital Records, it affects our ability to issue out-of-county births, process amendments, obtain records, and more. I mean, it's more than just those tasks in a timely manner. So that's as fast as I could speak to get all that in there, and I thank you for the opportunity to share what my office does and what my staff does for this county on a daily basis. Do you have any questions?
All right, thank you, Stephanie. Any questions for Stephanie?
Just
You're overwhelmed, aren't you?
Just one real quick question. I noticed in a previous earlier slide that the birth certificates had increased 8.7%. Are you saying that our birth rate is increasing in the county currently?
Our
And
new
as-
births, yes.
As
Yes.
compared to 8.7 compared to what?
Over last year.
Last year?
Yes,
Okay. Thank
yes. We do an average across the 5 years. We look back 5 years, but most of the time I'll specify that it's a 5-year look behind. But these are over last year. Yeah. Any
Other
other
questions?
questions?
All right,
Thank
Stephanie,
you so much.
for your report. Thank you for all that you do. Thank all you guys for coming tonight. We appreciate what you guys do for us every day. Thank you. All right, our second presentation tonight comes from the county manager. That's right, thank you. Motion to accept this report is presented.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to accept this report as presented.
All right, thank you, Mr. Barry. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0. Now we'll come to the county manager, single source foster care support presentation. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, as each month for most of 2025, as we close out the year, commissioners have allowed us to highlight different perspectives as it relates to foster care in Burke County. We've heard from, as you all know, folks that have experienced foster care, parents that have participated, providers, and we've really tried to make that a point of emphasis. I'm really proud of the team here at the Board of Commissioners' direction. Tonight we have a request and looking for your direction to potentially draft a request for qualifications that we believe would vertically integrate foster care, making it more streamlined. And I'll walk through the presentation, and I know we did a pre-agenda, but I'm proud of our finance team who's worked through this, as there's an economic component. Corey is here with us tonight, and certainly the Child Welfare and Social Work Leadership Administration there in the Department of Social Services have been a key driver in identifying ways to improve. But we think this idea of vertical integration is going to increase the number of licensed parents, foster homes in our community by largely partnering with a private agency that has dedicated resources and professionals to help with recruitment, licensing, and support. We think that we will ultimately see a positive impact on the number of children experiencing foster care, because there'll be a more efficient reunification with families. And we also believe that it'll have a positive economic impact on our budget, because we'll be able to have some what I would call purchasing power, some leverage with one unified vendor versus now kind of an a la carte, if you will, component that doesn't allow us to have really a focus on economies of scale and streamlining those costs, whether it be for services to the parent, to the child, board payments. We think that the primary focus and the goal is to increase foster parents, lower the number of children in care, and stretch our purchasing power further. So we always start with purpose. We think that those goals inside of this unified project, this vertically integrated project, do support our organizational purpose of improving lives here in Burke County. We always talk about, before we do anything, we should understand our why, and the focus of foster care presentations each month to this board is to continue to bring awareness, advocacy, and action to motivating people to get involved in trying to support these children. As you know, we've used this slide many times, but when you look regionally at Burke County, and for a variety of socioeconomic drivers, our foster care population, when you look at it on a 3-year average, is unproportionate to our total population. We have about 187, and sometimes that fluctuates, plus a few, minus a few, children in care. And when you compare that to the size of our community, just in relation to surrounding counties, this was kind of the first predictive analytic that suggested that we really needed to dive in a little bit deeper to foster care here in Burke County. And so then as we started taking a deeper dive, this first analytic was further reinforced. So here's just comparing Burke County to the state of North Carolina as it relates to the number of claims. So this would be when someone's calling in to report potential cases of abuse or neglect as it relates to children. And you can see there, even the federal rate, 41.7 per 1,000 children, we're about 33 to 35% higher than the state average. And then you move into how many of those claims are substantiated, meaning a social worker went out and evaluated the situation and had some type of safety concerns. Again, substantially higher than both federal and state. And then, how many of those substantiated claims actually result in a child being taken into custody and into care? We're higher than our judicial region, about double that of the state. We also know that in Burke County, we've, and I'm certainly at a staff level, tip our cap and are grateful to the board for your effort as it relates to substance use disorder. We know that overdose deaths, emergency room referrals, we continue to rate in the bottom 10th percentile across the state, and we're taking action and had a very successful 2025 year in putting some of those strategies in action too as it relates to opioid settlement dollars. One of the things we did there was to create kind of a heat map across Burke County to say where are our overdoses most commonly occurring. And we were able to use that tool that was created again for substance use and layer that with foster care removal. So those green triangles are layered over top of substance use disorders. And I think it confirmed our thought that there's a direct correlation between substance use disorder and potential abuse and neglect for children that are coming into care. And just trying to get a better idea of setting the stage of how to best manage the situation. We wanted to make an impact, certainly, but understanding where and why children are coming into care, looking at different triggers, the types of substances, where they're at from school, or from a school zoning perspective. Again, just trying to gather information so our team could develop the most appropriate strategy, which I've been very pleased with our progress so far. One of the things that we are doing very well at, and I'm incredibly proud of our team for, is even though we have some of these factors that are driving children into care and some of these social impact analytics, when a child comes into the care of Department of Social Services for Burke County, they are treated exceptionally well. When you look at our mistreatment number, we are substantially better than the region, than the national average, and the state average. So that just tells you that the folks working under Corey and with our team here put a lot of care and passion and love into the children that they're responsible for caring for. And unfortunately, children in our care tend to stay in our care longer. So the next kind of data point that we've tried to map out is once a child comes into care, what is the average length of time in care, and why is that? And we call that time to permanency. So I hope some of those data points help indicate that this idea of increasing the number of homes, decreasing the population, moving them into permanency quicker through reunification, and ultimately, again, that budget impact are supported by some of these data points. Here was just a snapshot of a population. This was statically drafted, but you can see the average, regardless of the type of care, the average child in care had been in care for 1,298 days at that point, and that is significant. This is just comparing Burke County in yellow to the state and industry best practice as it relates to moving to permanency. Corey and the team have worked really hard on impacting that to the extent that we can. One of the biggest barriers that we've talked about is having resources. Obviously, termination of parental rights can't happen for 12 months. So if permanency is going to be achieved in North Carolina prior to that, it has to be through reunification, which oftentimes, if in a safe environment, obviously is what's best for the child. And so social workers are working to try to do that, but that often requires parents to go through, a remedy process ordered by the court, or to hit certain, to work through, some type of improvement plan. And if those resources aren't here locally, or they can't get there, then those reunification efforts are often a challenge. And I think that's true here in Burke County. So we've been trying to build the team, and you all are familiar with many of these folks that we've been working with, and a lot of those folks have came here to your board meetings over the last year, or we are partnering directly with contractually in other ways, with an effort of trying to, again, bring all the appropriate folks and the talent and the industry experts to the table. And I think this idea of vertical integration is that next step. And again, as I mentioned, we think this coordinated approach will have a very meaningful impact. Right now, we have about 11 active foster parents that are licensed under our DSS licensing effort. We have one full-time staff that's able to do that. As it relates to children that are often Medicaid eligible, we're not under the LME MCO umbrella, so services that we're trying to provide are not directly billable to Medicaid. So there's a lot of reasons to think that this would be attractive in the private market, and that it would reduce time and improve efficiency for managing the process too. You all know that foster care placement options in Burke County, like any other county in North Carolina, fall in really the three buckets: publicly, which would be us, privately licensed organization, and unlicensed kinship. Just a little bit of background about where our children in the custody of social services in Burke County are. You can see this is all children. This is licensed through Burke County. We currently do partner with some private agencies, although it's not by direct contract. And this is unlicensed kinship placement, which our team does an incredibly good job of finding these kinship placements, and that really is good all the way around. The scope of services that we would propose that be included in this RFQ are everything from clinical assessments to substance use treatment, let me get, there we go, to parenting education, which may be ordered by a judge, and all of these may be components or requirements that the court is laying out for the parent to try to achieve. I won't read through every single one of these, but it's from clinical through counseling. It may be things, again, that's offered to the child, offered to the parent. And this may not be everything that's ever needed, but I think this is going to capture, our team thinks that's going to capture 90+% of what would be required. There may still be anomalies or one-off kind of unique things that we would have to go seek, but we're looking for one vendor who can make Burke County a priority. So when a child's taken into care, we have a direct placement immediately. These services that are required to start remedying that situation are immediately available. And we think, again, by putting it all under one umbrella, that's going to give us a significant amount of influence to make sure that happens in an expedited way. I'll go through this one last time. We want to have an established, pre-qualified, selected vendor. So following this meeting, if the board sees fit and gives us direction, we would go back and draft an RFQ. We would post that for about 30 days to see what kind of private providers out there would submit a proposal. We would put together a selection committee, likely ask a board member, and Commissioner Berry is on our DSS board, to participate in our selection process, and then work on implementing that over a 60 to 90 day process, but with a focus on trying to be more robust in our recruitment, licensing, and support of foster parents, which we know is challenging now. I think you all heard from a graduate of our First Citizens Academy last month, where she talked about the support that's needed for folks that are fostering children. And then ensuring those services are locally available to parents that are trying to work through an improvement plan inside of Burke County to reduce this or to provide stability in foster care. And then doing that in a way that we think, worst case, is budget neutral, but likely has a positive impact on our operational budget. We spend about $2.7 million a year in foster care. And we think that by streamlining some of these things, it's hard to measure exactly what that positive return will be, and that certainly isn't the top priority, but we think it's a positive impact that is likely to be accomplished. So just I'll leave you with that, and what we are looking for is direction to either move forward with this strategy of vertical integration or not, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the board may have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Mr. Manager. Gentlemen, any questions on this presentation?
Mr. Chair, I would just like to make a comment. I'm really excited that we're thinking outside the box from, previous years, because as long as I've looked back at reports, we've hovered between 170 and 200 kids experiencing foster care, and that's such a traumatic experience for them, and of course the parents too that need help, obviously. And so I'm excited that we are stretching outside of what maybe some other counties are doing. So thank you for you and your staff and social services for looking at that.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add something also. I think it's very important that everybody knows the county's all in on fostering our kids. And I really want to see our churches be all in some kind of way supporting our kids, whether it's financial. I know everybody can't foster, but I think as a community that our churches can be a vital part, saying, hey, we're going to be one, because we've already had some come in. And this takes all of us. This takes all of us as a community. I just don't think we should have 200 kids that don't have support collectively. And so that's the challenge I'm putting out, is for all of us collectively to do something. Do whatever your part is. You might not can do the whole thing, but you can support it. Our churches can support it in some kind of fashion. Thank you.
Other questions, comments? All right, gentlemen, you've heard this request and the information presented. I'll entertain a motion on this item.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to accept the report and authorize the county manager to move forward with the request for qualifications process as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Burns. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. It's 5-0, Madam Clerk. All right, thank you very much. Brings us to item number 8, scheduled public hearings. We have no scheduled public hearings tonight, so that'll take us on to item number 9, informal public comments. Madam Clerk, do we have any informal public comments tonight?
We do, Mr. Chairman. We have 2 speakers that pre-registered. The first is Mr. John Hoyle.
Okay, if you will, please state your name and address.
John Hoyle, 5050 Albert Williams Road, Connolly Springs. I'm going to start out by mentioning a few people. First of all, I thank you for this time. I really do. I haven't got to present to the board since before I retired from the Burke County Sheriff's Office. John McDivitt, Sheriff. Steve Whistler, Sheriff. Banks Heinzman, Sheriff right behind me. Crystal Carpenter, Clerk of Court. Don Brown, Sheriff of Catawba County. Alan Norman, Sheriff of Cleveland County. All take time to return their calls. I watched them go over this many times. All of them. I know them personally. On the 24th of November, I was at the convenience site in Eichard, putting some stuff in the rough box. I was talking with one of the workers. He turned around, he said something, and I thought, did he just say what I think he said? Honestly, my hearing aids were being worked on, so I didn't have them in. And I turned around and I said, what did you say to me? And he said, you people think you can just run over us. I told him, I said, I'm retired captain of the Burke County Sheriff's Department. I know what disrespect is. I didn't disrespect you. They got a thankless job, an absolutely thankless job. They work in the worst conditions when it's hot and worst conditions when it's cold. I left there, and at approximately 4:24, I called Madam Clerk and left a message to speak to Mr. Brian Epley. That was the Monday before Thanksgiving. I give him the benefit of the doubt that he didn't get that message. So at 4:09 on December 3rd, I called back. I said, this is John Hoyle. I wanted to make sure that Mr. Epley got my message to give me a call. She said, I'll check with him. I said, I understand. It wasn't Madam Clerk this time. It was another lady. She said, I'll make sure that he gets that call. Maybe slip through the cracks, holidays. I understand stuff like that. Come the 10th of December, before 8 o'clock in the morning, I sent an email to become a speaker tonight. 8:03, I get a return email saying, we've got you put down from Madam Clerk. That was on the 10th. Then, a few days later, some questions are asked. Mike back here, wherever he is, Mike Callahan or Gallahan, I don't remember if it's a C or a G. He went to the sheriff's office, got my number, and then he called me this morning. I don't ask for much, but when I can call an out-of-county sheriff, when I can call a retired sheriff, when I can call someone and they return my call, I don't want to bother anybody. I want to keep a low profile, below the radar. I don't ask for much. It's not an ad hominem attack on you by any means, but I do expect a little respect from people that return calls. Talked with Mike today about the logistics and some things that were said at the Eichard convenience site 6 months ago. One of those gentlemen came at me because I moved one of his orange barrels, and he met the elements of a crime to be arrested for disorderly conduct. 3 decades of experience as law enforcement. In my training, and I still teach new officers, I felt threatened by that man. And I stepped toward him in defense of my person. Now, he stopped and he backed up. Shouldn't have to be like this. And it's because of the logistics of that landfill, convenience site. It's because of the way it was designed. It is an engineering catastrophe. Talked with Mike about it today. It's not wide enough. We had a landfill convenience site that did not look good. But the layout, you could drop stuff off, you could come through. You did not have to go through the compactors for household garbage. You could get out. Now you can't do that. If you need to get around just to drop off some stuff in the rough box, which is set in there backwards because there's not enough room, or put some stuff in the cardboard so that we don't pay extra money when we drop that stuff off, you can't do that now. Mike says that they're working on a fix so that they can turn the rough boxes around, so they can landscape that out. But those are small things that we as a community have to see. Everybody that goes into the convenience site at Eichard on 70 knows that it is a catastrophe. I was in there yesterday. I had to block the exit myself. Not yesterday. Yesterday was Sunday. I'm sorry. Saturday. I was in there Saturday, and I had to block my exit myself just so I could throw a piece of plastic in the rough box, and there was people waiting. Don't ask for much. I respect this board. I respect each and every one of you. I know some of you personally as friends. It's something that needs to be looked at. If we can't return a simple call, take 5 minutes out of our time. Stuff like this does not have to be made public. It could have been handled quietly. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk?
Miss Doreen Erb, pardon me.
Hi, my name is Doreen Erb, and I am from Morganton. I'm here tonight because, as all animal lovers, I am advocating for the welfare of our precious four-legged friends who have no voice of their own. I'm unaware of what is currently in place here in Burke County, but have been involved enough shelters and rescues to know that there are numerous problems, such as hoarding, abuse, abandonment of many of our fur babies. Every single day, I sit and I see all these posts about lost dogs or stray dogs, and the majority are without any type of identification at all. I don't know why. Perhaps people set them out, which that happens when they become an inconvenience, when they become pregnant, maybe become a bit of a financial strain, or when they have behavioral problem, or maybe they just aren't allowed to go with their owner when their owner decides to move someplace else. there are all these reasons that these things happen, but in my opinion, there's not one single excuse. Just a year ago this month, there were several young black puppies hanging out near a church off 126, and I was told it had been going on for about 3 years. It was the same dog, but different litters. There were community people feeding them, giving them water. The weather began turning really nasty. It got dangerously cold. There was a lot of wind. I had set some wheat straw out and had gone back to check on these puppies when I noticed that there was a rescue team there trying to trap them. After a few days, they were successful, and that particular rescue itself led to 17 saved dogs. However, one of them, 2 days later, gave birth again and ended up having to go through surgeries for prelapse for so many times having had puppies. Just about 6 weeks ago, same road up by the Last of the Mohicans boat dock, here comes a little girl, all pregnant, looked as if she'd been set out. Within 7 to 10 days, she was rescued. Apparently, though, she had given birth out in the woods, and we were not able to find her puppies. They succumbed, I guess, to the elements or to wild animals. She was taken to Shadow Ridge for a $360 bill. Was taken to Rescues Legacy the very next morning. When I was there last week, she was still there, and they've been taking care of her. They have made sure she is spayed. See, Good Samaritans all the time put a lot of time in, but it also costs a great deal of money to keep these animals fed. And the rescues, they're really struggling too. Just like the shelters, they have to have fosters available, and those are really hard to find. I believe the only way to solve these problems is by having tougher laws, ones that are promptly enforced, and also is a policy of zero tolerance. My suggestions, if not already in place, are to consider any of the following a violation resulting in criminal charges. 1, administering any type of torture, torment, or beating. 2, failure to provide accurate food, water, shelter. An accurate shelter for outside, of course, is like an enclosure with 3 sides, a roof, a floor, adequate room for moving around comfortably. Failure to seek medical attention. Failure to provide current recommended vaccines and ensuring the animals are wearing those appropriate up-to-date tags for those vaccines. 5, failure to have pets wear ID tags with the animal's name and the owner's number, because this is so important. If they just had those on, they could be returned home in a whole lot quicker time frame. Failing to keep all animals either contained on their property or supervised and controlled, and this is for their safety. Invisible fence works well for mine for. Abandoning an animal by leaving it or setting it out to fend on for itself. I think that should be a felony charge, actually. Failing to spay or neuter your dog or cat. Most shelters and rescues already do that prior to adoption. But if that animal was not altered prior to the adoption, it should be the expense of the adopter before gaining possession of that animal. And lastly, everyone who adopts a dog or cat, I think, should be handed a copy of the current, not the whole book, but kind of a pamphlet of all the rules and regulations before they adopt. So, and that it also says that it will be promptly enforced with zero tolerance. We need to work together to prevent this current animal welfare problem, because animals have so much to give. They ask so little in return. They're God's creatures and His gifts to us. And in my opinion, we need to be responsible to treat them as such. So thank you very much for your consideration of my thoughts.
Thank you, Ms. Herb. Madam Clerk?
That's all that I have, Mr. Chairman.
Brings us to item number 10 tonight, consent agenda. I'll ask our county manager to review the items on the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Several items for consideration. Each of these were presented at our pre-agenda meeting. Item number 1 is your proposed 2026 rules of procedure for this board. Item 2 is also from the Board of Commissioners. This is establishing your 2026 meeting schedule. Item number 3 is scheduling July 27th as the health meeting schedule for this body. Item number 4 is proposed 2026 commission appointments. Item number 5 is from our clerk, and that's appointments and reappointments to our TDA board. Item number 6 is a resolution to accept desk cubicles from the Western Piedmont Council of Government. Item number 7 is budget amendment number 6 on the year for $136,000. As a reminder, that's a combination of $20,000 grant from the Department of Veteran Affairs, as well as $116,000 in social services special assistance, adoption assistance funding. Item number 8 is budget amendment number 7 on the year for $205,400. That is to remedy a series of vehicular malfunctions and mechanical components from undesignated capital. Item number 9 is authorization to move our surplus real property onto GovTales, which is an electronic platform. Residents can still find the link to surplus properties on our website front page under residents and surplus property. I've also put in front of each board member a list of those currently 12 properties with a minimum reserve. So this platform acts as an automated and is statutorily approved, one of the only ways to do automated real property transactions, but you have to set a minimum reserve, and that's in front of you for consideration. And then lastly, item 10 from our opioid advisory committee, and this is a spending resolution authorizing the expansion of assistant medical director for $8,125. And I would propose that that be approved with some final adjustments from the county attorney's office. Happy to answer any questions you may have on those items, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Mr. Manager. Gentlemen, you've heard this information along with the additional information on items 9 and 10. Any questions on these items? Seeing here none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda is presented.
All right, thank you, Mr. Stroud. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. That's 5-0. All right, thank you very much. This brings us to item number 11, items for decision. We have a couple items tonight. First one comes from the America 250 Committee, resolution of support for the America's 250 birthday. This will be presented by Ed Phillips, our chairman of the America 250 North Carolina Committee. Evening, Ed.
Good evening. Thank you guys for allowing me to be here tonight. I would like to recognize some guests we have here tonight and members of our committee, including Commissioner Mike Stroud.
Hey.
Dr. Bryant Lindsay. Dr. Joel Welch is also here. And also members of the SAR, Dave Dowdy, and DAR, Rebecca Heacock. Thank you guys for being here. So I'd like to read the resolution and thank you guys for supporting this. Resolution recognizing the historical significance of Burke County in celebration of America's 250th anniversary. Whereas the year 2026 marks the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence and the founding of the United States of America. And whereas the United States semi-quincentennial presents a once-in-a-generation opportunity to reflect on our nation's founding principles and to celebrate the people, places, and events that have shaped our American story. And whereas Burke County holds a prominent place in North Carolina and American history, with deep ties to the Revolutionary War, including the Over-Mountain Men who mustered in this region before the pivotal Battle of Kings Mountain on October 7th, 1780, and the Battle of Cowpens on January 17th, 1781. And whereas Burke County is home to significant historical landmarks such as the historic Burke County Courthouse, 1837, the Charles McDowell House, 1812, and numerous other early settlements and structures that tell the story of our community's development. And whereas the Burke County America 250 Committee was formed to recognize, promote, and coordinate local activities that honor the county's historic contributions and engage the public in meaningful commemoration. And whereas the committee aims to highlight and preserve local history through educational programs, commemorative events, community storytelling, heritage tours, and public engagement initiatives. Now therefore be it resolved that the Burke County Board of Commissioners proudly recognizes the historical significance of Burke County in the founding and shaping of the United States of America, and supports the ongoing efforts of the Burke County America 250 Committee. Be it further resolved that the board encourages all residents, municipalities, schools, businesses, civic organizations, and historic institutions to participate in and contribute to America 250 observances that showcase Burke County's unique role in our American story. Be it finally resolved that Burke County shall honor this milestone with dignity, pride, and public engagement to ensure that its historical legacy is preserved and celebrated for future generations. Adopted this 15th day of December, 2025.
All right, thank you, Ed. Any questions for Ed on this resolution? All right, seeing here none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we adopt resolution number 2025-35 and accept the report as presented.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. All those in favor signify by the uplift of the hand. It's 5-0. And Madam Clerk, I'm going to ask the board to come down and you guys that are supporting this resolution to come up. Let's get a picture with this group tonight, showing our support for this resolution.
Mr. Chair, I want everybody to know that just because I'm wearing red doesn't mean I support it.
Can you get us all in, or we need to squeeze it in the scene?
Oh, you're good.
Good?
We're ready?
And Brian, what did the Over Mountain men say? Get out of here. Huzzah! Yeah.
Doing good, doing good.
What does huzzah mean? Does that mean this rally or?
That is the bison, or the American Revolution equivalent of today's army going, "Ugh!"
Thank you, Phil.
All right, item number 2 on the decision agenda for tonight comes from our county manager, ordinance amending chapter 6 of the animals of Burke County Code. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You all are, have a copy of the proposed ordinance. I would remind you that about 5 or 6 years ago, Burke County wrote this for the first time and created a standalone department for animal services. There's been some lessons learned over that time, and the Animal Services Advisory Board, which was one of the advisory commissions established by this body for the last couple of years, has been working through what I would consider a comprehensive update with a focus on largely definitional clarification. As you can imagine, anytime you're trying to execute and enforce legislative documents or that have a legal emphasis, having clarity in definitional terms matters. And again, over the last few years, there's been a lot of instances that would have been handled more clearly and been easier to communicate to the public had the definitional components been clear. There's a real heavy emphasis on understanding what constitutes abuse and neglect, abandonment, for example, and an emphasis on holding folks accountable that tend to habitually violate components of the ordinance. And then lastly, I would just say that it looks to modernize through things like a TNR program, and managed intake, which we've been operationally practicing for some time, but weren't necessarily outlined in Chapter 6 of the Burke County Code of Ordinances, which governs animal enforcement. So I would start by just pointing out Animal Services really has three distinct responsibilities. One is enforcement. There's a big emphasis on public safety and public health, disease management, dangerous animals, those type things. Sheltering and adoption, working with animals, and these are all companion animals. This is not governed in any way. Agricultural, livestock, and those type things, which is all managed by at the state level. This a local ordinance does not have the ability to impact those types of animals. So we're largely talking domestic animals, companion animals, and then lastly, education and advocacy for things like spay neuter through community education. So I'm just going to highlight a few of the changes that changed from the 2020-2021 document to what's proposed tonight. I would point out that 153A governs this. At your pre-agenda meeting was the first presentation of this language, so this would constitute the second reading. But some of the key definitional changes is we expanded what it means to be an owner or a harborer. We added breeder categories and prevented some, and it really talked about manner of keeping, if you will, good breeding practices for people that are doing it in a professional context. And then, as I said, kind of modernized recognition of TNR and some of those more commonly adopted practices now. I mentioned hobby breeder. It adds descriptions of what good breeding practices are. It changed, for example, the definition of harboring an animal, which is providing food and water and a place to be, from 24 hours to 14 consecutive days to take possession of it. We define managed intake, and there's criteria for what constitutes managed intake. Largely, and again, we've been practicing this way for some time, but because we've historically, as I mentioned, when I think Animal Services was here last month, they receive about 40,000 calls per year. And until the transition to the new shelter, on the canine side, have operated with about 14 kennels. So there's almost an operational requirement to operate managed intake, which means largely that you're trying to find alternatives for pet diversion, for animal diversion, not just bringing every single animal into the shelter. We also talked about abuse and cruelty and defined those neglect standards. It expanded the list of prohibited acts, including leaving your animal in an unmanaged, unsafe vehicle, for example, or medical neglect, not getting veterinary care if an animal is suffering. It talks about not separating puppies or kittens until the appropriate time frame. For example, puppies not weaning from their mother until they're after 8 weeks unless there's a medical reason to do so. And it clarifies what is a criminal referral and what constitutes an appropriate investigation. And that's the component that's covered by the 153A that mandates misdemeanor violations in an escalating way for some of these things, which most of our ordinances in Burke County do. We also talked about what is the definition of a dangerous dog, which is an unprovoked animal that creates serious harm off of its property to another companion animal, to a human. We removed the definition of potentially dangerous dog as it may inappropriately label an animal, and it clarified the penalty is up to a $500 penalty. We added an escalating ladder for tethering violations. So there's a handful of provisions that talk about what is appropriate tethering in Burke County, and it says now after 3 written communications of violations, there could be a $500 fine in that situation, and those characteristics include a tether that's sufficiently long so the dog can get to adequate food and water, that it's not more than 10% of the animal's body weight, some characteristics like that. And none of those characteristics change. Just the fact that there's an escalating compliance effort before penalty. We also went through and made sure that we put some standards in place for approved rescues. For example, they have to file an application. They have to be an approved 501c3. There could be audits And if that audit is not sufficient, there's an ability to suspend their ability to pull animals from our shelter, and there's an appeals process that they can go through to get reinstated. But this is really the only oversight for approved rescues in the new ordinance. In the older version, there really wasn't any type of qualifiers for someone who wanted to pull animals. We have been using a TNR project or process policy for community cats, which largely when people call us and they have colonies, we will trap those cats. We will spay and neuter them to prevent them from multiplying. If you've never seen a cat multiplying chart, they can have a lot of cats each year, and 5 cats can turn into 50 real quick. And obviously inbreeding and all the things that go with that. So TNR is considered an industry best practice, and you mark the cat with a clip of the ear, and then you largely put it back in the general, assuming that the homeowner or the citizen, the property owner is comfortable in a general vicinity of where it came from. And we just put some standards there. Clearly, putting a cat back where it came from is not abandonment, so we clarified that because you're leaving the animal there. We also added some nuisance enforcement for animals running at large that essentially says that if an animal is habitually disturbing or damaging private property, or if it's creating any type of public safety nuisance, that can be can be a situation where we take possession of the animal and remove it, or if there's an owner that's allowing that to happen, they can be cited for that as well. I think, again, I know I moved through that pretty quickly. I think operationally, the impacts are fairly minimal of this update. I don't know that there'll be a significant day-to-day change in how the service is implemented or executed, but I think it does clarify. I think it does improve welfare and public safety, allows us to be more consistent, which is critical anytime you're, again, having this effort on implementing law. And I do think that it aligns us with what most people would consider best practice in this industry. So if there's specific questions, I know there's about 30 pages there of language and a lot of stuff, but certainly happy to do my very best. I would say thank you to, I think, we've got several members of Debbie is the chairperson of our Animal Services Advisory Board, who had a big part in drafting, and really, I guess you guys have been working on it for a couple of years now, is that right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's been something they've worked really hard on, and I know the board's appreciative of that, staff certainly is too, but happy to answer any questions you all may have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Manager. Gentlemen, you've heard this information. We do appreciate the work of our advisory committee. Appreciate y'all being here tonight as well. Any questions to Brian on this item? See and hear none, I'll entertain a motion.
Everybody's fighting for it, ain't it? I'll make a motion. Make a motion to adopt the ordinance as presented.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Stroud. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0, Madam Clerk. This brings us to decision item number 3, and this comes from the clerk, appointment to the Board of Adjustment. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Mr. Ray Johnson, who occupies seat number 3 West, voting member on the Board of Adjustment, has resigned due to an out-of-state relocation. His term ends September 30th, 2026. And you have a couple applications on file for your consideration.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Gentlemen, you've seen this information. We do have 2 applications on file, Brian Smith and James Wakeford. I would entertain nominations for this seat.
Mr. Chairman, first I'd like to offer a motion to remove Ray Johnson's name from the official roster of the Board of Adjustment and thank him for his service to the community.
All right, thank you, Mr. Burns. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0, Madam Clerk. I'm still waiting on those nominations.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate James Wakeford.
Have a nomination for James Wakeford. Do we have any other nominations? Seeing here none, I'll close nominations. All those in favor of accepting James Wakeford as the appointment to seat number 3, signify by the up its hand. It's 5-0, Madam Clerk. All right, thank you very much. This brings us to item number 4, appointment or reappointment to the Board of Equalization and Review. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is a request to make an appointment or reappointment on the Board of Equalization and Review. Betty Greer occupies seat number 1, and her term ends December 31st. She has served on this board since 2015. We do have some applications on file for your consideration also. So you have options to reappoint Ms. Greer or to remove her name from the roster and appoint one of the other applicants on file.
All right.
And the term ends December 31st, 2028.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Gentlemen, you've heard the information and had these applications before you. I'll entertain a motion at this time, or let me indicate first I'll accept nominations or and reappointment.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to reappoint Betty Greer to the Board of Equalization and Review for a 3-year term ending December the 31st, 2028.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand.
We can close the floor for nominations.
Well,
think we have to.
Mr. Vice Chair's made a motion, and with that motion, I don't think we will need the nominations. Okay. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0. We'll reappoint Ms. Greer to that seat. This brings us to item number 5. Clerk, also appointments or reappointments to the Public Health Advisory Board. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is a request to make some appointments or reappointments to the Public Health Advisory Board. Seat number 4 is occupied by Dr. Anthony Frank, a physician. Seat number 8, Dr. Joel Welsh, serving as the engineer. And seat number 11, Gwen Stevens, which is an at-large seat. Ms. Stevens also represents the advisory board on the Animal Advisory Boards. All 3 members desire reappointment, and there is an additional application on file for the at-large seat. So you have 2 motions there, one to reappoint Dr. Frank and Dr. Welsh, and the second one is to appoint Wesley Hendricks or reappoint Gwen Stevens. Terms end December 31st, 2028 for all 3 seats.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Gentlemen, let's handle the first motion first, the reappointment to Dr. Frank and Dr. Welsh to seats 4 and 8 on the Public Health Advisory Board. Do I hear that motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to reappoint Dr. Anthony Frank to seat number 4 and Dr. Joel Welch to seat number 8 on the Public Health Advisory Board for a 3-year term ending December 31st, 2028.
Thank you, Commissioner Burns. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. It's 5-0, Madam Clerk. Now for seat number 11. As Madam Clerk said, we have the potential to reappoint Ms. Stevens or nominate Wesley Hendricks for that seat. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to reappoint Gwen Stevens to seat number 11 on the Public Health Advisory Board for a 3-year term ending December 31st, 2028.
Thank you, Commissioner Barrier. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0, Madam Clerk. All right. Item number 6 comes from tax collection, the tax collection report for period ending November 30, 2025. Good evening, Mr. Bridgers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I've had the opportunity this evening to meet Reverend Bridges and I told him I was sorry he didn't know how to spell his name correctly. I just also want to say that the name Bridgers is a derivative of Bridger, and like many English names, like Miller was someone who ran a mill, and Taylor was somebody who sewed. A Bridger was somebody who collected tolls on a bridge.
Well, how
So-
interesting.
I kind of think I'm in the right job.
We're right in the family business then, aren't you?
Well, on that note, I gotta tell you, my favorite frontiersman was a Bridger.
Well, I'm actually related to him. Not a descendant of him, but related to him. Tax collections revenue for the year to date. Budget for, was $60,495,871. Year to date, we have collected $41,398,388. That is 68% of the budget, the remaining balance to collect of $19,097,483. Discounts, the county budgeted $350,000. We have given discounts, year-to-date of $346,196. Delinquent taxes, we have budgeted to collect $700,000, and year-to-date, we have collected $438,026. That is 63% of the budget, with a remaining balance to collect of $261,974. Interest and fees to collect, we have budgeted to collect $329,000, and we have collected $170,944, which is 52% of the budget, with a balance to collect of $158,056. So total budget there is $61,174,871, with a total collected to date of $41,661,161. The year-to-date levy, and this figure will change due to discoveries and releases. Current year is $55,646,480. Current year taxes collected is $39,201,582, which is 70% of the levy, with a remaining balance to collect of $16,444,898. Motor vehicle taxes, we're budgeted to collect, the levy is $5,456,857, and year-to-date, we have collected $2,196,806, which is 40% of the levy, with a balance to collect of $3,260,051. Fire district tax for the entire county, the levy is $6,507,480. We have collected for all the fire tax districts, $4,519,090. That is 60% of that, with a balance to collect of $1,988,390.
All right, thank you, John. Any questions for John on the tax collection report? Seeing here none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to accept the tax collection report as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Stroud. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0, Madam Clerk. Item number 7, tax release and refund report for period ending November 30, 2025. Mr. Bridgers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the month of November, the report amount is $22,246.04. The rebuild amount of that is $14,583.49, with a net release of $7,707.45, with no refunds there. Motor vehicle refunds over $100 totaled $2,285.04.
Thank you, John. Any questions on this report? Seeing here none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to accept the tax release and refund report as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0. All right, item number 8, coming from our county manager, appointments to the Dangerous Dog Appeal Board. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I've spoken with each of you, we're in need of reappointing a board that hasn't been active in several years, and there's been some expired terms. One member has passed away, so seeking approval by the board to reappoint the members that are, I think Madam Clerk may be giving you a handout. It's a 5-member board here. I would point out that the ordinance and statutorily required to have a vet, and we have not found a willing vet to serve on this body yet. But you can see the folks who have submitted applications and are willing to serve at those seats as far as the criteria, all are at large other than the vet and the staggered terms to reestablish the body. So asking for consideration that these 4 be appointed, and we'll likely have a hearing in the next 60 days for this group. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you. Mr. Manager, any question on this item? I take it that Mr. Steen is replacing the member who passed or not?
I think everyone other than Ms. Stevens is a new member.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Questions, comments? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the membership as presented in terms of the Dangerous Dog Appeals Board as presented. Further express appreciation to the former members of the Dangerous Dog Appeal Board for their service to our community.
All right, thank you, Mr. Barry. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0. All right, brings us to item number 12, reports and comments tonight. With that, I will start over there with Madam Margaret.
Nothing to report. Merry Christmas to everyone.
All right, thank you, Ms. Margaret. Mr. Turner?
Nothing on my end. Good to see everyone.
All right, thank you. Mr.
Merry Christmas, everyone. I'm excited about what's taking place. This group of commissioners are on the same page, and we're gonna get better, brother. I promise you, customer services, we own it. So,
Mr. Burns?
Just a couple of things I'd like to mention. I had the great honor of being able to attend the a retirement. It was a Christmas party, but they recognized Chief Robin Triplett with his retirement for 45 years of service. And I just think that's commendable. And I was honored to be there. Also want to mention, since our last meeting, I think I was actually elected to serve as chairman of the policy board for the Western Piedmont Council of Governments.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate your willingness to serve there and provide your leadership there in that role as well. Mr. Manager?
Nothing for me, sir.
Mr. Vice Chair?
Nothing other than just to wish everybody a safe and healthy Merry Christmas.
Mr. Barry?
Nothing to report, just Merry Christmas to all.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Same for me. Merry Christmas.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Let me make a few courtesy reminders here. Remind for those who may be able to attend tomorrow, this is the invitation-only event, Hickory Tea Hanger Ribbon Cutting tomorrow at 11 a.m. Also, an invitation-only event at the groundbreaking for our new Shell building on December 17th at 2 p.m. If you have that on your calendar, please remember that. Also, December 24th, 5th, and 6th, our county offices will be closed in observance to Christmas. And we would note the landfill and convenience sites are closed on the 24th and 25th. They will be open during their regular hours on the 26th. I believe that is Saturday. Is that correct? And then January the 1st, our county offices will be closed. Landfill and convenience sites closed for New Year's Day. January 5th, we'll have our pre-agenda meeting here at 3 p.m. And I would again remind our youth groups who would be interested in coming, leading in our Pledge of Allegiance, to go and sign up on our website. We'd love to have folks come and lead our Pledge of Allegiance. I would remind you, if you have animals, to spay and neuter your pets, foster or adopt a pet with our Burke County Animal Services. Also remind you, if you are traveling up and down the highway with trash, please cover it up so that it doesn't blow all over the road and folks have to pick it up. We would appreciate that. And don't litter and pick up your trash. Use the Community Beautification tab on our website. If you see areas throughout the county that need specific attention, please let us know through that website. And along with all the others, I'd like to wish all of our community and our county a Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year as we move into the new year in just a few weeks now. So with that, Madam Clerk, I will come to you for vacancy announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen of the audience. We have the following opportunities for citizens to be engaged in county boards and committees: the Adult Care and Nursing Home Community Advisory Committee, Burke County Public Health Advisory Board, Hickory Regional Planning Commission, Drexel Planning Board, ETJ's member and alternate, and Partners Health Management's Human Rights Committee.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. So you can see there's numerous opportunities for service in our community, and if you are available and would love to serve, we would certainly encourage you to do that. And you can get applications for those committees and boards on our website, or you can give our clerk a call. We have no need for closed session tonight, so that brings us to our very popular item number 15, and that is the adjournment of our meeting. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adjourn.
All right, thank you, Mr. Burns. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. That is 5-0. Thank you very much.